Today is all about love. Today is loving out loud. Today our music, our scriptures, our sharings are all about this love that comes from the inside out. Today you're going to hear some real love stories from real life. So take a deep breath. Breathe in some love. And then release that love. Then offer that love into this space. Love that is grace, love that is life. Love.
Love. Love being a four-letter word, Love being a four-letter word such as life. Both are essential. Our hearts connect through life and love. Have you ever just wondered how people fall in love or why they fall in love? Or maybe even when did they fall in love? There are many different forms of love. Having that understanding, also keep in mind, love is a basic human emotion. It is also an action, not just a feeling. There are three different elements to consider: attachment, intimacy, and caring. Don't get me wrong though, love can be difficult at times. It can be uplifting, it can be challenging, but it's not always peachy cream. Let's not confuse love with like. You can love someone while liking someone. Love and like are two different elements. You can like someone and enjoy being in their company. You can love someone and take their feelings and emotion into much more consideration than yours. Love and like goes hand in hand a little bit in depth. With love, it's much more of a commitment. It plays a role of having a stronger desire for another human being. Physically, intimately, for your partner. Love challenges our hearts and our emotions for other human beings. Just as God has love for us, we should have love for each other. With that being said, God is love, and love is for everyone. Love.
Profiles of bravery. In 2005, an author named Pearl Cleage wrote a poem named We Speak Your Name to honor living black women legends. Today, using her poem as a foundation, I pay tribute to military women of color who blazed the path for me and for many others in their love, their race, and their country. Their light was the hope I held on to that the future could be bright for me. They dared to open up doors that were closed. Today, I speak their names. I stand here today to pay tribute to women in arms, to say their names as a recognition of their superior and undeniable and absolute refusal to bend in the face of injustice. I speak the name of Connie Williams. In 1866, was the first black female to enlist in the Army. In love. I speak the name of Major Daya H. Rainey. In 1942, was the first black female to enlist in the Army and was commissioned a nurse and a lieutenant in the Army Nurse Corps. In love. I speak the name of Brigadier General Hazel Johnson Brown. In 1979, was the first black chief of Army Corps and the first black female brigadier general. In love. I speak the name of Major General Marcy M. Anderson. In 2011, was the Army's first black female reserve officer to obtain the rank of Major General. In love. I speak the name of General Nadia West in 2016, was the first black female lieutenant general and the highest ranking woman to graduate from the United States Military Academy. In love. You could not have known how closely we watched you. Your every move, how we hung on your every word, and how we listened as you spoke words of wisdom and prosperity. As we really wanted to do is say thank you to all of you for being with us whenever and wherever we found ourselves standing alone in the light. At those moments, we remembered those lessons you shared. We celebrate your courage. We celebrate your spirit. We celebrate your genius. We celebrate your loving kindness. We celebrate your faith in God, in yourselves, and in us. We thank you for the dues you paid and the prayers you prayed. We thank you for showing us how to fly by flying yourselves. I speak your name in love.
It's hard to keep love alive in a relationship that you don't see the person a lot. When you deal with someone whose family doesn't like you, you struggle with love. Love is more than Valentine's Day, hearts, and candy. It's putting up with each other's family and friends who look down on you, but constantly reminding yourself it's worth it. To see that big sparkle in her eyes and see her laugh over nothing, that's love to me. Warm hugs and tender I love yous, spoken sincerity, that's love to me. Learning to love myself and set boundaries is a must. I'm still processing that information. When I get people in my life, I want to treat them like gold, totally forgetting about myself. That behavior has left me empty. So now I'm realizing Pam means something too. I'm worthy of not just giving the love, but receiving it also. Jesus said, in order for us to love others, we must also love ourselves.
Before I begin, I had a different interpretation of what I was going to tell you prior to this, but the song you sang, Deirdre, about God loves you just the way you are really affected me, and it made me think. So I want to thank you for singing it and changing the words as you did. It really shined a light on me, so I want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, but before I can tell you about where I am with love now, I need to take you back to where I've been with love. So I've never really been lucky, I would say at least, with love. Our relationships hadn't lasted very long, and before the one I'm in now, they haven't lasted longer than a year, and the one that I was in prior to this turned somewhat abusive. So, where I've been was I had moved to Rockville after being in that relationship that I had gotten out of. Wasn't intending on, being in a dating scene or anything like that. And then one day I decided to get back into online dating. Just, trying to see what would come of it, anything like that. Nothing, I wasn't expecting anything. And then about 2 weeks into it, this guy looked at my profile. He was really cute, of course. And we had a lot in common. We were both activists, we were both politically active, we're both creative. He's a video editor, I do theater. Seemed like we had a lot in common. So I sent him a message on OkCupid, and then he sent me a message back pretty much instantly. And then we decided that we were going to go see each other. I had a lot of doubts going into this date, mind you, because that previous relationship really did a number on my psyche. You know, feelings like you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not enough, you're not worthy, things like that. So I decided, though, you only live once, gotta take a risk, gotta take a chance. So I went on the date, and it went really great, don't get me wrong. We went over to his house, and we watched movies, and we ordered pizza, and it was a very, very nice first date. It was very, very nice. But then after that date, those feelings crept back into your head. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not enough. You're not worthy. So I wasn't sure that I was going to give this guy a second chance. And it wasn't even about giving him a second chance. It was not giving me a second chance when I think about it. So I messaged him, and I told him what I was feeling, and I was very, very close to actually almost ending this relationship that was blossoming. And he said, please go on another date with me. We won't go to my house. We'll go out somewhere. We'll go to dinner. We'll talk. We'll go to the Memorial Day parade that was happening that weekend. I took a day to think about it, and I said, okay. So I went out with him. We went to Vapiano's, which is now our date spot just around the corner here. And we went to the Memorial Day parade. We walked around. We talked. And then as he was walking me back to the metro station, to take, so that I could get back to where I was living in Rockville at the time, we shared what was our first kiss, and it was the best kiss I've ever had in my life. So, that was in 2014. We're now in 2019, 4.5 years later, and I can proudly say that Ben is now my husband.
Yes.
So now I guess the moral is, what have I learned about love from that moment at the beginning of the story to now? As the old saying goes, love is patient, love is kind. And that is very true. Love takes patience, it takes time. And one thing that I have learned that I think is very true is that if we all give love out into the world, love can change the world. I know this because love changed my world. Thank you.
Cynthia, my wife, breathed her last breath in our bedroom on July the 21st, 2016 at 12:33 a.m. and exited human race. It has been more than 2 years since she died, and the grief of being without her is still locked deep inside. In fact, it's still hard to talk about. I might can talk about it to a certain extent, but then climb up. Cynthia, images of you race across time. I hold you close, for you are still mine. A love that can't be measured, but in my heart is forever treasured. I had seen Cynthia at MCCDC a few times and exchanged greetings, but didn't go any further because I assumed she already had a partner. But on this last Sunday of May 2001, Reverend Candace Schultz requested all new members come to the front and speak. And when Cynthia started talking about her walk with God and her spiritual life with God, I practically bounced off the back wall and came up to hear more. That's the kind of lady I want. And looking around quickly, hoping no one really heard me say it. But when I saw her the next Sunday, I was so nervous, my stomach filled with butterflies that collided into each other. I think Cynthia noticed, but she smiled, pretending not to, I think. But anyway, we talked a little and exchanged phone numbers after we found out each other were single. But that week I suffered a loss of appetite, and the smell of food made me feel nauseous. But I didn't have the flu or cold like I have today. A buddy of mine said, "You got it bad. You're love sick and love struck." But Cynthia filled my mind in ways like nobody had ever done before. And I was so surprised to fall in love with Cynthia so quickly. In my heart, though, I knew she was the lady for me. In July 2009, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her quality of life began to change, but we loved each other even more. We got married on March the 10th, 2014. I recall the times when I'd like to share something good with you too, and I do recall this quite often. When we were bone tired, how we would make up bedtime stories and give them weird endings and laugh until we would fall asleep in each other's arms. And Cynthia even laughed at my jokes when they weren't funny. But here's where I want to add. Cynthia was a strong lady, gracious, and she invited me to walk with her till the last breath. And I love her even more for that. Thank you. I can still hear her laughter and feel her love. But another thing that I want to share was about her when we didn't agree on certain things, and it got uncomfortable, sometimes very uncomfortable. But we learned to work it through and grew from the experience. We treasured our times together and learned to respect each other's need for personal space. My lady Cynthia was honest, trusting, affectionate, compassionate, beautiful, and gracious. Cynthia was a love gift from God, and I will always remember Cynthia's love.